Hi, my name is Bob and I'm renovating this 1973 Egg Harbor Sportfish boat. Well, hello everyone, welcome to Renovation Sportfish. This episode's going to be a little bit different than the videos I've been putting out recently. It's not going to be doing any work in this video. It's really going to be an update kind of video where I'm going to show the progress on the boat quickly and then talk about the projects I'm going to do for the rest of the summer into the fall and maybe a little bit beyond that. Now, I wanted to put this video out last week actually, but there's been some technical difficulties involved here in Connecticut. One, busy work schedule for me, and another one was the tropical storm that came through on Tuesday, last Tuesday now. Power's still out. This is 4 days later I'm filming this, and especially around here I have power, but on my way to the marina here, tons of trees still down, wires down, nobody's got power. Marina doesn't have power, so couldn't work here anyways, even if I wanted to on most things. So that delayed the release of this video, which is the way it is. So anyways, we're going to take a quick look around the boat, and we'll start right here since we're out here. Last time I filmed out here, I was working on repairing some cracks in the gel coat on the boat. Haven't done any of that. It's not a priority of mine right now. It will be at some point when I want to put the boat in the water, but right now it's not, so haven't done anything out here. Cracks are still there, unfortunately. They didn't go away on their own, so that's a future project. So now we'll go inside and check out the progress inside. So here we are in the cockpit. It's been my focus of attention for the last year, and I do have all of the panels and everything at least in and fitted, so I could walk on the whole surface. Now it's all going to be ripped out because I got to take fuel tanks out still, but I'll show a little bit more in depth here in a second. But it's a good accomplishment. That's why it's a good idea for me right now to shoot this kind of a video, because it's a time where I'm going to actually reset, refocus on what I'm going to do next. So yeah, I'll bring you down here and show you around and see where we're at. Okay, so we're looking at the transom and or towards the transom, and you can see I have 3 hatches completed back there. You can see the center piece completed, and down in the lower right hand corner you can see the actual engine hatches, which are a little bit of a different color just because they're a different kind of plywood. Okay, so now we're looking in the opposite direction. And looking towards the door opening there, and you can see I've got 2 hatches built. The original design had 3 hatches, but I just wanted to have 2. And unlike the hatches in the aft end of the cockpit, which are just going to be lift-off ones, these are actually going to be on hinges. They're a little too big and bulky to be lifting on and off, so I have to come up with some sort of hinges. I have an idea. I could buy some, but they're really expensive, so I think I can make them. So that'll be a project maybe over the winter. Okay, now we're gonna pull one of these engine hatches off here. Now there's no handles or anything for me to grab these things, so I have these little suction cups at the moment, and I just picked these up at the automotive store. You can put glass in and stuff for this, for these things. So you just clamp them on. Kind of push them down pretty good. And clamping doesn't last forever, so hopefully it's enough to get this off of here. Alright, so now we'll zoom in and take a look at the engines and what's going on here. Alright, so we're looking at the Chrysler power plants in this boat. They're 318 V8 engines, 2 of them. You're looking at the port one right now. And progress on this, I basically took off the exhaust. I took off the heat exchanging system. It was a freshwater cooling system. It was back here behind the distributor. So I took that off, a bunch of the hoses. I did get this manifold off on this particular engine. I was just trying to strip it down a little bit just to give me room actually to put some of this support pieces in for the hatches. But I took enough of it off. Now everything's rusted. All the bolts are rusted. Some of the manifold nuts that held the manifolds on were basically gone. I chipped them off with a screwdriver and a hammer. Didn't use a wrench. So those are pretty shot. There's a lot of issues. I can't turn the engines. They don't even rotate. They're both seized up. So I don't know what's going on with them. I put oil in them, a little mystery oil down in there. It's still not doing anything. So I think these probably aren't going to be used as they sit now. Both of them are in the same condition. My plans right now, and this is not in stone, I have a couple options. I guess one option is to basically use these just for parts and get a couple long blocks and use the parts that I can just bolt on here, like the oil pan, the intake manifold, things like that. That would be one option. Not really thrilled about that option. The good thing about it is I know they fit. I don't have to do too much work to make sure they fit in there. And it might be a little bit cheaper on the surface, you would think so, but by the time I get all the hoses in, the whole exhaust system, I don't know the condition of this intake manifold. It looks a little cheesy on the side over there. On the other side, you can't really see it. So I'm not too confident that a lot of the parts are going to be that good when I start digging into this engine or the other one. So engine option wise, that's one option, is to try to use parts off of this thing and this one. But that could add up. I mean, like I said, on the surface it looks cheaper option. I can get the long blocks for a couple grand. One's a little more expensive than the other because it's a reverse rotation. And then use the parts off it, but I don't know exactly what's good and what's bad off this thing. I guess the best thing to do would just be take them out and see what's good and then make a decision from there. So that might be a possibility, but I don't know when I'm going to be able to get these things out of here. It's all hanging on the marina and their schedule, so we'll have to see what's going on with that. The other option is new motors. Probably when I say new, probably remanufactured blocks. But saw a boat in here, another Egg Harbor actually. Had a couple put in about a year ago. They were all together. They just dropped them in and hooked up the wiring, and that was it. And all the hoses, everything was there. GM-based engines. I think they were. Well, I would probably do 5.7 liter 350s, but these were bigger ones than that. 383s or something. I don't know, whatever they are. Badged as whatever they are. They're all GM based, and that's an option. One of the things about those that I'm a little worried about is the way the exhaust is on those. Yeah. So those risers for these engines come out back here, and they come up and down. Plenty of clearance this way. Those I noticed they come out in the center here and then come around. So just this clearance right here is a little worrisome to me. It's probably fine because I think you can get different height riser pieces on the top, but I'm still researching everything here, so if I sound like I don't know anything, it's because I don't know all the particulars of it. I'm just going by what I've seen in other engines and what's online and stuff like that, so I have to talk to people and actually figure out what's going on here and do that. But I think they will fit. I probably can't use like a high-rise manifold. I saw some of the high-rise manifold and the carburetor was sticking up way the heck up here. That's not going to happen. It's got to be low-rise, and the exhaust has to fit underneath this because I'm not raising up this deck. So that's probably my main concern. The other concern too is, the factory, this deck right here came way out to here. It was kind of over this hose right here. You can see by my knife. Right in this area. I pushed it way back here to get room down in the front here. You couldn't do this before. The decking was right there. So there's more room in the front, which is great. But, on this engine, all the heat exchanger and everything was way back here. So there's a lot of room back here. On the engines I was looking at, the 350s, 5.7 liters, it's all up here in the front. So I'm a little concerned about the room up in here too. And I don't know how much I can push the engine back because this has a reduction gear on the transmission and there's not a lot of prop shafts sticking out that I can actually move it back. So that's a concern too. So there's all kinds of factors I have to think about, and I'm no expert at it. So I'm going to have to get some dimensions. I have plenty of room this way, and I've got room on the side, so I'm not worried about width. It's more about height of things. So yeah, that's something I have to think about and figure out before I can decide what I'm going to do with engines. I mean, there are other options too. There's diesels, but I looked at prices of diesels, and I don't know about that. And I'm not a diesel. I've never had a diesel engine. I don't know anything about them. And I'm about working on the boat myself, and I don't want to have to call in technicians to do everything for me. And like I said, the cost was a lot more than even 2 new engines, from what I can tell. If somebody else knows something different out there, you let me know. I'm all ears. So, you think you can just move on to things, but you got to think about all kinds of stuff when you're doing any of this modifying and changing of anything. And that can sometimes get you sticking your head in the sand, which it has with me sometimes. And you push it off until you have to deal with it. So anyways, that's the question with the engines. Transmissions, I have no idea if they work or not. So there's the starboard side. I didn't take off any of the manifolds on this side. Did clean up the transmission a little bit just so I could walk on it, but it's basically in the same condition except it has the carburetor still sitting on it. The other problem I wanted to actually point out was this engine bed, and they're all going to be replaced. This one you can see it's cracked there, and when they installed it, they put this plywood in here, shim it up from the stringer, and it's all rotted. And I'm not going to be doing it that way, I don't think. I think I want to get it all in there as one piece and then fiberglass over all of it. You can see how they attached them with these. There's the head of the bolt right there, or galvanized bolts, and then on this side you see one of the nuts there, and they go back, to right there, not too far back, and then of course this way you go up to the almost all the way to the bulkhead up there. There you go. So it's not looking too good. All right, let's take a quick look inside of the interior, go through that. I mean, there's nothing happening in here. I'm kind of leaving it open on purpose, just so I can set up a saw or something like that. So it makes a good work area. Next thing I'll probably do in here is install this settee, but that's not on the priority list. Another thing I can do at some point, which I'm not going to do because it's not on my priority, is these side windows in the windshield. So we'll take a look over here at the side window channel. I mean, it's all ready to go. I just have to put the tracks in and then set the glass in there. But I'm not going to do that right now because I'm going to be doing some work in the cockpit. It's grinding some fiberglass, and it's just going to get dusty and dirty. And it's not something that has to be done this minute. So this is where we're at on the inside. On a bit of a holding pattern. So now we'll take a little walk up onto the flybridge. Actually cleaned the whole boat last weekend. It was a bit dirtier, but it's not too bad now. So once again, I haven't really been up here in quite a while. And obviously, if I haven't been up here, I haven't been working up here. So this is how it sits. This was pretty dirty up here, actually, when I came up here last weekend to clean it. A lot of dead bugs and spider droppings and things like that. But it's basically the same way I left it a couple years ago, probably now. So that's it. We'll take a quick look onto the foredeck here. Try to get a good shot here. Nothing going on there either except for cleaning. Now, the projects that need to be done down there is all the hardware has to be bedded, and I have to put in that hatch there. That's about it. That'll be done, actually. We'll come around and look down on the side decks here. Basically both look the same. Same thing here. I just have to bed all that hardware. Not the railing, just the fills and the cleats, things like that. So they're pretty much done. Not much to do there. And we'll take a look at the off the back and check out the view from the flybridge. Top of the world, as it is now. So yeah, what we got to look at someday. Of course, it'll be blue. It'll be some kind of water. I was going to say blue water, but I'm not sure if it's going to be blue water in the river here. Now I'm going to go over what I'm going to work on in the near-term projects and maybe a little bit of future ones. My main goal back here is to get these fuel tanks out. It was to do the engines too, but I'm backing off on that a little bit, just for some certain reasons. But everything I'm going to work on is going to be to get this cockpit far enough along that I can pull everything out and get those fuel tanks out. Now I know a lot of people want to see me pulling engines and doing drivetrain, electrical, plumbing, all that. But the way I work, I can't jump around like that. I have to stick to a certain task and just go with it. My brain just can't handle it. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to be doing any of that right now. It'll be done eventually, and I'll be filming it, so you'll see it at some point. Okay, the next project I'm actually going to work on is this, what I'm going to call like a curb. It goes around the entire perimeter of the cockpit. But on the side decks, it's a little different because I have to add this piece back here. So I'll zoom in so you can see what's going on here. Now, none of these pieces of wood are actual size. They're just there for talking purposes. So the first piece I have to add is this thing here, which is going to be narrower and probably shorter than this. I just use this piece, like I said. It'll be attached to the plywood on the end here. And then we have this next piece here. This, I could make this out of teak because it's going to be exposed. But I think I'll probably make it out of epay just because I have some epay. And I'll just let it turn gray just like the teak decking. And then this is going to represent the teak decking, and that'll come in like right there. There'll be a gap where I'm going to caulk. So that's kind of what this is going to look like. Actually, I'll put this here. That's going to be the panel, represent the panel that's actually going to cover up this whole area here. That's where it'll be attached, and it'll come up to the bottom here. Okay, so just to go along with that, we're looking at the transom now. Starboard end, there's a scupper. In this area, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to put the panel on first. It'll be permanently attached. We'll get into that when I actually get to that point. And then I'll put the curb on right here, and then the teak decking will come up to it like that. So that's what that's going to look like. What I didn't mention on the other part is there's going to be a piece of base trim right here. It was teak before. I'm going to make it out of mahogany so it matches everything else. It'll be about 2 inches high, and yeah, that'll go around the entire perimeter as well. So that's what that's going to look like. Now for the main bulkhead, behind me here, which I'm not really going to show, of course there will be no panel there because it'll just be the main bulkhead. And then we'll have the curb coming up against it like this, and then the teak planks will come into it like that, something like that. And of course there'll be the piece of base trim above that. Well, I guess since we're talking about teak and teak decking that's going on here, I guess I'll explain what's going to happen here. Now this is the corner of one of the hatches, and this is the centerpiece. And so what's going to happen here is I'm going to lay, this actually represents the teak. There'll be a border around this thing, kind of like that. I'll miter the corner here, it won't be like that. And then all the actual teak planks will be kind of running this way, kind of like that. So that gives you kind of an idea of what's going on here. I mean, the factory, when they ran their planks, they just kind of ended them like that with all this exposed grain here like this, but I prefer to put a border around it so I don't have the end grain. on all the teak. So that's kind of the way I'm going to lay out all the teak decking. So as long as we're talking about teak and teak decking, I might as well show this is a piece of the original, and it was probably somewhere in this area. This is the main bulkhead here, it's the door opening, this is the engine hatch. So you can see how much I removed and moved this floor back and extended the engine hatch. This gives you kind of an idea, visual. So this is what I'm going to use to actually deck this with, and I sanded the back here just to give you an idea what the teak actually looks like when it's cleaned up. I did plane a piece down, but I can't find it, but this is the next best thing. So this is what I'm going to be using. I'll be planing this down to be about that thick, because a lot of this is in pretty bad condition on the top. This is a halfway decent looking piece, but yeah, so we got going on, and there's enough talk about that. So what we're looking at here, I removed one of the hatches in the aft area. You can see I've installed, or temporarily installed, the drain supports here, and next, one of the things I have to do is build a piece to go between the two supports on the end to catch and complete the drainage system in between the hatches. The trick with this is I want them to be removable so that I can get at this whole area if I open up the hatches. So I'm designing that right now, and I'll be fabricating those and putting those in. Okay, anybody that's watched any of my videos know this is a favorite spot of mine to do some introductions in, but there's work to be done as well. The hatch that goes on this is fiberglass. I've started working on it, but it still needs some work. I got to figure out the hinges, what I'm going to do for that. And the top of it has a weird bow to it that I tried to get out, couldn't get it all out. So I'm going to have to do some repairs with fiberglass and some fairing and get that done. So that'll probably be its own video at some point. I'm also restoring the original door that was here. I've already stripped it down and done some work on it a few years ago, but I'm going to have to get back into doing that and actually fitting it and building a frame, a new frame for it, because this bulkhead's a bit thicker than the original one. Can't use the old frame, plus there was some areas of rot in the bottom anyways. So I'll be building a new frame for it and a new sill as well. So all that will be coming up in a future video. Well everyone, that's going to put a wrap on this episode. Hope you enjoyed it and got a little bit better perspective on where the project is in real time and where I'm coming from and going to with the project in the near future. So next week we'll be back showing work being done back here in the cockpit, getting it to the point where you just saw it now. So until then, have a good one, and we'll see you really soon right here on Renovation Sportfish.